皆さん久しぶり、ようこそ。実はこのセミナーは昨日撮りました。でも、多分今ストリームチャットにもいます。So I'm actually recording this a little ahead of time to avoid technical trouble. But I'll be in the stream chat if you want to say hi or just ask questions. If you want to see more of the stuff that I'm showing today, there is a link here. You can also get some Pico8 download codes if you want to try it. Pico8 をトライしたい人がいたら、どうぞこのリンクを使ってください。ダウンロードコードとか元インフォメーションも入れます。じゃあ、今日は少しファンタジーコンソールのことを話したいですが、最初にファンタジーコンソールがどんなものか、ざっくり説明してみます。So what is a fantasy console? It is basically, it's like a normal a regular console, but without the hardware. It's software that feels like you're emulating some kind of machine that never actually existed.ファンタジーコンソールは普通のコンソールのようだけどハードウェアがないです。マシンを使っているような気持ちだけのソフトです。ハードウェアいらないです。We don't need like a proper plausible hardware description. We can just make a program that feels like the machine that we would like to exist. And because we're not constrained by a plausible description, we can just imagine anything we want. So that's kind of how Pico8 came about. Modern machines are very powerful, so we can just make anything we want. 最近のコンピューターの性能はめちゃめちゃ高いので何でも作れますね。だから自分の好みで好きなコンソールだって作れるはずだよね。So this is what Pico8 looks like. It has a very small display and very tiny cartridges. It's pretty fast though. I mean, 4 million Lua virtual machine instructions per second. It's quite fast, I think. I mean, compared to the other specs. So it's not trying to follow any historical precedent. I'm just picking what I want from history. So it's not supposed to be a retro machine per se. When you save a cartridge, you get this little PNG file, and the cartridge data is encoded in the low bits of the ARGB channels. So one byte is encoded in 1 pixel, so you can sort of visualize how much data is on the cartridge. Alright, so let me show you some demos. 今これからちょっと Pico8 のデモ、東方ファンタジーコントロールで作ったデモを紹介をしたいんです。時間あれば後でちゃんとフルデモも流します。The first demo that I could find that is, a demo is that was released kind of around the same time that I released the first alpha, so I was really happy to see any kind of demo on it. And same for Rez's Scrolly. so I was really encouraged that there were some familiar sceners making some cute demos, and the first sort of fully formed demo with multiple effects is probably Ad Astra by Format. Actually, yeah, I'll play the whole thing afterwards. This one took me by surprise. It did some nice things like using multiple sound channels to create audio effects that I didn't imagine were possible. And in the first year, Cast Pixel and I also released Orbeez. That was at Tokyo Demo Fest 2016. And we've made one more production, which I'll show you later. We couldn't make anything this year, unfortunately, next year. So, tweet carts are still going strong. Tweet carts are basically Pico 8 cartridges that fit in 280 characters. So it's sort of like a format inside a format. And like in a way, it's what Pico 8's good for. If it turned out that Pico 8 was just for making tweet carts, I'd kind of be okay with that. I like making tweet carts. Let's see. Oh, where is it? Here. So I just made a little collection. I'll show you really quickly. This is by Monroe Hopeman and von Rostock. So you can see some more recent Pico 8 features making their way into these tweet carts, most notably the extended palette. So it used to be only possible to have 16 predefined colors, but you can do some secret undocumented trickery to get an alternative set of 16 colors, which I'll show you later. Okay, 88. Oh, this is using the classic palette. I still like the classic palette. Comet Bomb and Tresorval Dog with some super psychedelic secret colors. I never get tired of twisters. And this is P01 with a ray tracer, I think, that does samples using little, 3x3 pixely circles. 2D array with this. He does like nice kind of real world objects in tweet carts, which are really hard. It's not a good format for it. And this one takes a little bit of time to warm up. City Lights, I think, by Greg Ossel. And I'll just show you one more by Andy Makes with some more secret colors. So Monroe Hopeman is a tweet cart making machine, and he's made a whole bunch. He's made collections of them. Yeah, okay, that's tweet carts. And there's been some jams which are slightly larger, so like a tweet cart, which is 2 tweets, 560 characters, which is kind of an interesting size. And more recently, the 1K jam that Caspixel and I made a game for. That's our second production as pod. So all of the graphics and map data in this game is stored in this this garbled string here. It's a variant of RLE encoding with a minimum span length of 2 pixels. So yeah, it had to compress smaller than the size of the compressed data plus the decompression code, which is in here somewhere. I can't find it right now. Anyway, it was really fun to make this. It's hard to sort of to create map data that feels structural but is has a very high information density. You can glitch through a wall and, let me try and do it, and explore the rest of the sprite sheet. Okay, now I'm in the sprite sheet, and it's just like random weird shapes. Right, that's now that. And next is, okay, so other fantasy consoles like TIC-80, that's some tiny computer. It's a fantasy computer. And OK64 is an interesting console too. Have started getting demos. So if you go to the tiny URL link, I'll put some information about how to find them. But TIC-80 feels quite different, even though the specs are not so far different from Pico 8. It kind of has quite a different mood. A lot of nice demos for it, and a lot of nice 256-byte demos as well. It doesn't have a constraint on the CPU, so you can do some nice things with live coding and not worry too much about like spending the time to optimize it. OK64 is interesting because it's a fantasy console that incorporates real hardware. So it actually has a 6502 chip on it with a GPU, and it spends most of the 6502 instructions just shunting instructions to the GPU. I thought it's kind of interesting. And again, you can find it here if you want to check it out. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how Pico 8 has changed. I'll put something ambient on. Maybe rain. Right. So, okay. So Pico 8 is about 6 years old now, and I've gradually added features to it. But it needs to be simple. And so there are all these, sort of features that I think are kind of make it more fun to make things with Pico 8 that compete with the minimal goal of Pico 8. And so the challenges are how to make Pico 8 look basically like it did 6 years ago, but if you kind of dig into it, it gets deeper than you realized. 今までだいたい6年ぐらいピコ8を作ってきました。その間どんどん新しいフィーチャーを作りたかったけど、問題はそのたくさんのフィーチャーとピコ8のミニマルのスタイルはファイトしちゃいますね。だからやり方のストラテジーはそのフィーチャーを見えないところに隠します。例えばこっそりメモリアドレスとか。So yeah, one of the main things I did was hide a lot of the features inside memory that you need to, poke magic values to, and only some of them are documented. So I'm trying to kind of create a rabbit hole situation where it looks like there's nothing going on outside the rabbit hole, but it actually leads to quite a big weird place. アルスの白ウサギが入っちゃった穴みたいものを作りたいんです。上から見たら普通の穴みたいだけど、その穴の中に複雑だったり不思議な世界があります。そういう形です。So, by the way, Pico 8 is actually kind of finished now, so I'm not going to add any more features, and it's important to have a format that's not changing too much. I really feel bad when I kind of pull the rug out from underneath creators' feet by adding something that that kind of changes the meaning of the work. So I've sort of tried to tread quite lightly. One of the simple examples of adding things in a kind of layered way is the secret palette, where, I mean, it's secret, so I'm just going to show this for a second. You do that, and it gives you 16 more colors. I mean, you can see they're quite similar to the first colors, but they're not great colors. They're kind of like a bargain bin of weird colors that some of them are quite useful. There's like a mid-range blue that just doesn't exist in the original palette. But I didn't want it to be too useful. Like, I didn't want people to always feel like they need to use the secret palette. And I added a bunch of secret pokes to memory, so you can do things like map one video memory section, like the sprite sheet, to the display. And hang on, I've got that here. Whoops. What? Word board. So this cartridge shows like splitting, like using the display as a sprite sheet and splitting from one part to the other, and using like a palette remapping and a stretched sprite function for distorting the on-screen memory, but it doesn't need to touch the sprite sheet memory. So I think this will be really interesting for making demo effects, and I'm kind of curious to see how it pans out over time. And there's other similar things, like you can poke a magic value to get bit plane access, and other things like that. So you can just draw in one, like on the low bits of each of the 4-bit pixels. T-line is kind of interesting. So T-line is a function for drawing a line that functions pixel colors from the map. So you can do sort of mode 7 like effects. And in a way I was disappointed to add this, because it took the fun of trying to make optimized software implementations, in Lua. So I imagined that people would write their own ones that look something like this. But what actually happened is, people would unroll their loops. Of course they would do that. And so you get code that looks like this. And all of these function calls, these deeply nested function calls, have a real-world CPU cost, which is so bad that these cartridges can only run on desktop machines, and that sort of ruined the one good thing about Pico 8 is that you author a cartridge on one machine and you know that it's going to run on any environment, including like a slow Raspberry Pi or the web or something like that. And so I implemented T-line, and it's like an optimized hardware function now. But it has some upsides, like I don't think Picocad would have been able to exist without it. This is made with a 3D modeling program that is made inside Pico 8, and it uses many of the secret features, like you can recolor dithered patterns on a like a texture map, and things like that, and it fits together quite nicely and kind of creates a nice look. So I'm glad that happened. Yeah, thanks, Johan. It's awesome. And multicarts they're quite old now, but they're sort of starting to be used in interesting ways. This is about a year old. This is a version of Doom called Poom that uses multicarts to get some extra data in there. So the idea is that you still have 32K cartridges, but you can kind of flip between them and make these larger things without putting pressure on Pico 8 authors to always make larger things. There's that kind of friction that makes them feel okay to just make 32K things, hopefully. And I think it's working out like that. Another way that I sort of hid things in Pico 8 is just, in the interface, there's this little tiny button you can use to make SF instruments, which are, let me give you an example. So if I write a baseline that seems like it's not working. Okay, never mind. Alright, fine. So if you use the built-in instruments, you don't have that much choice. But if you click this tiny little button, you can use other SFXs as if they were instruments. So, for example, oops, let's make that just a triangle. So this is now going to be, so this little thing is going to be played every time one of these notes is played if it is an SF instrument. And just leave that. And you can also like add some basic filters right now. That's kind of a relatively recent thing as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the new filters are used. There's a oh yeah, this one. Someone made a really nice cover of Boards of Canada. Using the new filters, which I'll anyway, I'll put it in the list of links. Yeah, so that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna play you some demos. If you wanna find out more about the demos or this other stuff, please visit this link. See ya, mata ne. す。